If I was the richest man in the world, what would I do with all that money? If I had all the money in the world, like what would I do with my time? And this is a question that I asked, close friends of mine. I've asked people around, like, if they didn't have to worry about money, like, how would they utilize their time? What would they do with their lives? And so this is something I think about all the time. Like, if money wasn't an issue, if I had all the money in the world, like, what would be the first thing I, or the first things I would do? And immediately I would think, well, first, probably pay off any debt that I have. Um, so if there's something that I owe, I'd pay that off right away. Being the financially responsible person that I am, and maybe I would probably try my best not to tell anybody. Um, and it would be difficult as time goes on because if you change up your lifestyle, it'd be hard to keep it away from people, especially your close circle, your friends and family. At the very least, I'd probably tell my family, but I would not want to tell people or let people know that I'm very rich or that I have a lot of money, because my concern would be people would just come to you just asking for money, or they'll probably leech off of you, and they'll just look at you differently, right? They'll just look at you as a guy with a lot of money and find a way to get access to that. And so I know for one, I probably wouldn't want to tell people that I have a lot of money. And I'd probably clear all my debt. And being like the financially investment type of mindset that I have, I probably want to buy like real estate or make some investments right away. I probably want to buy a house and just have a place to live, have a place to call my own, and maybe buy a couple houses in different locations. So I can be able to travel, or I can be able to have homes in places that I visit frequently. So right off the bat, those are probably things I'd want to do. Those would be my first purchases. Um, Maybe I'll buy a nicer car or buy nicer clothes and eat out more often than try to cook. um, Maybe eat at more expensive restaurants and try more things. Um, just maybe enhance my lifestyle. And I could see that being more materialistic. Not that, I'm a materialistic person in the first place, because I don't really put a lot of value on things. But I could see when you have more access to money, you would be more free to try out new things and try to have nicer things in life. Try to have the nicer car or the nicer home and kind of buy into that lifestyle. No pun intended. So yeah, I could definitely see myself struggling with like getting caught up in all the materialistic things, because now that you do have all this pool of money, like you'd want to experience nicer things and have nicer things. So I could see myself possibly, you know, being caught up in that. But at the same time, there's a part of me that feels like, well, I know those things don't really last forever. You could have that initial dopamine rush, that excitement of the first purchase, but I know things that you buy, materialistic things, they wear out. Uh, Initially, you'll have that excitement and that thrill of purchasing something new, but over time, you get used to it, and the novelty kind of just wears out. So I don't put too much into that, but if you do have all the money, maybe that might change that perspective of mine. So I'm not sure. But then I've heard, people that do have a lot of money, that do have all these things, realize that it's not really everything in life, and it doesn't really make you that happy. But still, as I mentioned, there would be some purchases that I make that I feel like is more useful for me, or there can be financial gain out of it with these investments or assets that I buy. And if you do have a lot of money, it does open up more time for you. Like, I wonder what I would do with work. Would I just up and leave my work and quit right away? Um, Probably not, because usually I'd be, if I really didn't like my job, then maybe I would quit sooner than later. I wouldn't hold on to the job for too long, but I think I would hold on to it for a little bit so it doesn't feel so abrupt. At least, you know, fill out the time, or honor the commitments that I've had with the job, and leave at the right time. And if I have any, big commitments, or I'm locked down in some sort of contract, I would honor that contract and I would play it out. And after that, then maybe I'll reassess if that's something I want to keep doing. Because when you do have a lot of money, it's like, you probably don't want to work. You probably want to utilize your time doing things that you really enjoy, or maybe invest your time in things that you're really passionate about. And for many people, it's not in their work, right? So a lot of people, if they do have the money, they'd be willing to step out of that work and, spend their time in things that they really enjoy. And so for me, that's something I would reassess, like after a term ends, or uh, I feel like all the commitments have been finished, and I would think about, like, whether I want to keep working or spend my time doing something else, since money's not a concern. I don't have to work for the next paycheck if I do have all the money. So, if I didn't work, then I would, as I mentioned before, spend my time doing things I really enjoy. And a lot of that is, I enjoy educating myself. I enjoy, like, meeting people and socializing. I've been really enjoying, like, learning a foreign language that I'm so used to, and I also really enjoy traveling to new places that I haven't been before, and experiencing different types of cultures. So, you know, those are things that I feel like even now I've been experiencing, and I've been so fortunate enough, and I didn't really need a lot of money to be able to do that. And so if I did have all the money, that might give me more time to do that even more and enhance that. And so I probably, travel more often, or explore different places. Maybe I'll spend more time learning languages, or just spending time hanging out with friends and family. That would be just things that I probably just do, um, as I already am right now. But maybe I'll have more time for that if I were to let go of, like, work commitments. And so, yeah, those are things that I really enjoy and really value. And also, I would want to help people as well. I'd feel like I'd want to, be willing to pay for meals that I have with people more often, or I'd be willing to support people or support organizations that I feel like are helping society, helping people around them. I would definitely use finances to help people in need. And for me, I would want to help people that I've been tied to personally with these organizations, or with like certain types of nonprofits, something I've been personally tied with to, or people I know that I trust, support them in any way financially. That's how I would go about it, with some due diligence, and knowing that the money's going to a good place, rather than just freely give without doing any type of research. And that's just my mindset. And I'd probably give more freely as well. It's if you do have a budget and you do have your own means of living, you can't give as freely. And I feel like I'd be more willing to give more freely if I did have all the money in the world. But at the same time, you want to be wise with your giving as well. And I wouldn't want to just pay for every meal, or just pay for everything for my friends, because then they'll be so reliant on me, and they'll have the expectation um like I'll cover everything. And so that's also part of the reason why I wouldn't want to tell anybody, and I wouldn't want to, pay for everything, and come off as I am rich. So I want people to cover for themselves at times, and being able to live within their means, and not rely on someone to pay for like food and trips and all that. And so, that's one of the main reasons why I'll just live discreetly. But it'd be very, very hard if I were to have a lot of money, and I were to have a certain lifestyle, if I were to have multiple homes, and maybe ride in business class instead of economy. It'd be hard to cover that up, and hide it from people that you're close to. So, either I would just have to do it more discreetly, or just not live so extravagantly and live a low key life. But that'd be difficult to navigate too, because I could see myself being the type of person being very discreet, and also not be so revealing. And so maybe like that would also hurt me from being more transparent. And usually I'd want to be genuine and transparent as possible. But if I have like this double life where I do have a lot of money in the background, and spending a lot of money in different types of areas of my life, um, maybe on the surface, to people I don't want to tell, I have to live a different way. So there's also that too, that I would probably have to struggle with if I had all that money. So yeah, I think about it, and sometimes it does bring a little excitement knowing that, oh, I would do this and that, but really it's just in your head, and it doesn't really mean anything, because it's all hypothetical scenarios. But it's just an entertaining thought to have. It's like, oh, what would I do with all this money, and what would I buy? And if I had all the money in the world, like how would I spend my time? Because another thing too is like, okay, so you have all the money in the world, like the majority of your time is working to make money. So now that you have all the money, what are you going to do with all that time? And so part of my view on money is like the financial, I look at it from a perspective of like financial freedom. It's like once you do have the money, now you have the freedom to do what you want to do. So what are the things that you're passionate about? How do you want to utilize your time wisely to do the things that you want to do, or do things that you're really passionate about? Maybe do things to help people in need, or invest in hobbies that you really enjoy. So it's just balancing out the time aspect and not, I guess, getting bored. Because I guess if you're not working, you could get bored if you're just wandering around aimlessly and maybe just purchasing some stuff or just eating all the time and drinking. I'm not sure. Or getting caught in a crazy lifestyle that your body's not capable of keeping up with. Whatever the case may be, you know, and it would probably be different for everybody. And I just also wonder if it would really change the person that I am, because I've heard some perspectives about money like, well, whether you have a little money or a lot of money, it at the end of the day, it would just really highlight who you really are. The money isn't the thing that changes you, it just highlights who you really are if you do have a lot of money, right? And I think there's some truth to that. And I also wonder too, if you do have a lot of money, if it does change you, if you do become more susceptible to materialistic things. Maybe I don't. Maybe part of the reason I'm not into the materialistic things is because I realize I can't afford it. So if I can't afford it, then it's not really smart of me to spend recklessly on things that are just that just look nice, or won't be able to support my way of living. But if I didn't have to worry about that, then maybe I'll just purchase things here and there, and I'll buy things recklessly and knowing that there isn't really a consequence to it. So maybe if I get caught up in that, that would change how I view materialistic things. Or maybe not. It's really hard to say because these are all hypotheticals. I'm just going off, you know, theories of how I could possibly be like. Um, I can say what I can say is like if I did have a lot of money, I wouldn't want to be caught up in the materialistic things. I wouldn't believe I would care about too many uh things of material needs. Maybe I would want nicer things, but I don't think I'd get out of control with it. But you never know, right? Because I think I found value in things that are probably worth more than money, that money can't buy. And that's just having, you know, a community, having good friends and family, experiencing like loving, selfless relationships, or caring for people, or helping people in need. Um, Usually with those type of things, like money's not really involved in that. I don't think you could put a price on that. Um, I think with that, it requires more of your time and energy. And again, so if you did have, all the money, you could utilize that time into those things that you really do care about. And that's how I would look at it if I had a lot of money, is just invest my time in what I'm already doing. And so maybe if I did have all the money, not much will change. I'll pretty much do the same thing, but maybe enhance like some of the things that I do have. But other than that, I don't think I don't think I'd be caught up in a lifestyle that isn't that meaningful. I'd rather just live a life that brings a lot of purpose and joy in my life, and I would hold on to that, because I think um, those things that I really do care about, I don't know if there's enough money to that can purchase that.